The stars outside the viewport of the ardent horizon shimmered, like fractured diamonds scattered across the void. Captain Elias Thorne gripped the edge of the observation deck, feeling the vibration of the ship's engines thrumming through his fingertips. Somewhere in the darkness of space, something watched, something intelligent, something ancient. He remembered the moment it all began, the cry of a child echoing across the hollow corridors of an abandoned research station on the fringe of the Epsilon sector. The child was not human. Its skin shimmered with faint, liquid-like iridescence. Its eyes glowed like molten gold, reflecting not just light, but motion, intelligence, and fear. And it ran toward danger with no understanding of what threatened it. Elias stepped forward. His own pulse surged with a mix of fear and determination. Every instinct screamed to protect it. A swarm of alien predators, long-clawed and scaled, descended from the ceiling vents. They hissed, their mandibles clicking in deadly rhythm, and advanced with precise, coordinated aggression. He did not hesitate. With a blast of his plasma rifle, he carved a barrier of light and heat, forcing the creatures back. He grabbed the child, holding it close, feeling the warmth of a fragile life against his chest. The predators recoiled, then regrouped, their alien intelligence assessing, adapting, planning. Elias knew that moment defined him, not as a soldier, not as a human, but as a protector. He ran, ducking through corridors, walls shaking with alien claws, slamming against reinforced metal. His lungs burned. His muscles screamed. But he did not falter. He reached the docking bay and threw himself into the pilot seat of the shuttle, the child cradled safely in his arms. As engines roared to life, he felt it. The first whisper of awareness, the first shadow of consequence. The child's guardians had noticed. Not long after, it arrived. The Obsidian Crown, a vessel of unimaginable scale, drifted into the Epsilon sector. Its hull pulsed with alien energy, a living extension of its queen's will. The alien queen herself, Kalara, appeared as a projection within the shuttle's HUD. Her presence dominated the space. Her eyes, luminous and infinite, pierced into Elias's soul. "You took what belongs to me," she said, her voice a symphony of authority and malice. "Return him, or face the collapse of your worlds." Elias tightened his grip on the child. "He is not yours to command. He is alive, and I will protect him." Kalara's projection shimmered, a wave of heat and energy washing over the cabin. Such courage, such defiance. Fascinating. Perhaps you are worth more than I imagined. But make no mistake, human, I will have him returned, by any means necessary. The shuttle shuddered under the force of an unseen energy strike. Elias's heart raced, but he did not flinch. He piloted through asteroid fields and debris storms, every maneuver a dance with death. The child, despite its fear, remained calm in his arms, as if it sensed the strength and purpose of its defender. He thought of Earth. He thought of humanity's history, its fragile beginnings, its capacity to adapt, to survive, to rise in the face of impossibility. This was not the first alien threat humanity faced. It would not be the last. Yet he understood now that humanity's greatest strength was more than courage. It was ingenuity. It was empathy. It was a willingness to stand alone, even against the infinite, to protect life that could not protect itself. The Obsidian Crown followed relentlessly, sending emissaries, creatures of strange, mutable forms, each more terrifying than the last. Elias fought with strategy, using gravity fields, plasma mines, and decoys. Each victory was temporary, each escape only a delay, and in the dark corridors of his mind, he began to feel the weight of destiny pressing upon him. The child was not merely a life to protect. It was a symbol, a key to power, a spark that could ignite alliances or war across star systems. Elias realized that his actions had shifted the balance of the galaxy. Entire civilizations now watched, waiting, judging, planning, and the alien queen, she would not relent, not until she had claimed what she considered hers. He looked at the child, now sleeping peacefully against his chest, its bioluminescent skin casting soft shadows across the cockpit. "I will not fail you," he whispered. "Not ever." The stars outside the viewport seemed to hum with potential, danger, and destiny. Elias knew the battles ahead would test every limit of human strength, intelligence, and resolve. But he also knew this truth. Humans endured. Humans adapted. Humans fought. And right now, he would prove it to the universe. The first wave of Kalar's assault ships pierced the shuttle's energy shield. Explosions rocked the cabin. Warning lights flashed like fireflies in a storm. Elias gritted his teeth, adjusting the controls. His every move had to be precise. Every decision mattered, because the fate of one child could determine the fate of countless worlds, and he was not about to let anyone take it away. The shuttle shook violently, metal groaning under the onslaught of Kalar's assault ships. Elias's hands moved with precision, flipping switches, recalibrating shields, adjusting thrusters. The child stirred but did not wake, as if sensing the strength and intent of its protector. Outside, the void seemed alive with danger. Alien warships twisted through the dark, their energy weapons painting streaks of light across the stars. Explosions blossomed like unnatural flowers, illuminating fragments of asteroids and debris that floated like frozen ghosts. Elias's mind raced. Each decision had to balance survival with the protection of the child. One wrong move could destroy them both. He remembered a lesson humanity had learned the hard way over millennia. Fear is a tool, but courage is a weapon. With a flick of the control panel, he diverted power to the shuttle's experimental graviton drives. The vessel lurched, disappearing in a sudden blink of space-time. A risky maneuver untested but necessary. The fleet behind him faltered. One, then another, then the majority, struggled to track his trajectory. For a brief moment, hope flickered. But Kalar's voice returned, cold and omnipresent, reverberating through the shuttle's comms. Clever, human, but cleverness alone does not save you. I will bend the cosmos to retrieve what belongs to me. Her words carried authority, and yet there was a hint of fascination. Elias could feel it, like a predator intrigued by its prey's audacity. He glanced at the child. Its golden eyes opened, reflecting not just light, but consciousness far beyond his understanding. It reached a tiny hand toward him. Its touch sparked a faint tingle along his forearm. He realized then the child was more than just a life to protect. It was a being of power, something the universe had rarely seen. "Stay with me," he whispered. "We will survive this. I promise." The shuttle dropped out of hyperspace into a nebula, clouds of swirling gases that glowed like molten gemstones. Colors danced across the viewport, violet, gold, crimson, an alien aurora that hid them from pursuers. Elias maneuvered with a pilot's instinct, weaving through the luminous clouds. Sensors picked up strange gravitational anomalies. The nebula was alive, reacting to their presence. He sensed it, a pressure against his chest, a subtle tug on his mind, as if the nebula itself recognized the child's energy. Suddenly, a massive silhouette emerged. Not a ship, but a structure, a cathedral of alien architecture floating in the void, impossibly large, pulsating with energy that seemed older than stars themselves. Elias's eyes widened. He realized this was a sanctuary, a place untouched by Kalar's influence, a potential refuge. He aligned the shuttle with the entrance, heart pounding, but before he could enter, the fleet reappeared, slicing through the nebula with lethal precision. Weapons fire struck the clouds, sending showers of sparkling gas in all directions. One bolt slammed against the shuttle's hull. Sparks erupted. Alarms blared. Elias's mind raced. Humanity had survived impossible odds before. He would not fail now. With a sharp calculation, he initiated a series of evasive maneuvers, using the nebula's anomalies to his advantage. Energy pulses reflected unpredictably, cloaking the shuttle temporarily. The child's eyes glowed brighter, responding to the turbulence. A soft hum filled the cabin, resonating with the shuttle itself, stabilizing its movement. Elias's heart skipped a beat. He understood they were connected. The child's latent power could be harnessed, guided, amplified. But Kalar would feel it too, and her fury would not wait. Inside the alien cathedral, corridors stretched like living veins, walls pulsing with light and energy. Ancient symbols glowed faintly, casting eerie shadows. Elias stepped cautiously, holding the child close. The air hummed, almost singing, as if the building itself was alive. A sudden voice echoed, not Kalara's, but soft, melodic, and distinctly alien. Protector. Elias spun. A figure materialized, translucent but defined, with elongated limbs and a face both delicate and intimidating. "You brought the child," the figure said. "Few have the courage to defy the queen. Fewer still survive long enough to enter the sanctuary." "I do not seek conflict," Elias said, keeping his voice steady. "I protect life. That is enough." The figure regarded him silently. "Humanity is different, fragile yet fierce. Your strength lies not in weapons, but in your will." Elias felt a weight lift slightly. For the first time, he realized the galaxy contained allies he had not known. Powers older than history, beings who judged by deeds rather than rank or lineage. But the calm did not last. A tremor ran through the cathedral. Alarms of light pulsed violently. Kalara had found them. Elias braced as the first strike hit the sanctuary's outer walls. Energy cascaded to the corridors, shaking stone and metal alike. He lifted the child higher, shielding it with his body. The figure beside him placed a hand over the child's head, a wave of warmth and protective energy spreading outward. The Queen's forces breached the outer defenses, cascading like a river of black lightning. Creatures of impossible design, shapes constantly shifting, merging and dividing, flowed into the corridors. Elias's pulse surged. Every muscle tightened, every sense sharpened. He fought, not with hatred, but with necessity. Every strike, every dodge, every command reinforced humanity's ability to endure against the infinite. He realized that the child's power was responding to his resolve, creating shields, amplifying speed, guiding his hand. Together, human ingenuity and alien energy formed a new force, one Kalara had not anticipated. The tide of the battle shifted. Where the Queen's forces expected submission, they encountered resistance. Where they expected fear, they encountered courage. Elias's mind raced with strategy. Improvised weapons, environmental manipulation, and exploitation of alien physiology. Each action highlighted humanity's creativity and adaptability. He found weaknesses, turned alien power against itself, created traps using the sanctuary's energy conduits. Every movement, every decision, emphasized a human trait that had allowed them to rise from primitive survival to masters of the stars, the relentless drive to endure, adapt, and protect. The Queen's voice boomed again, this time with rage unmistakable. "Foolish human, you trespass against destiny itself." Elias did not answer. He focused on the child, on survival, on the future. The battle raged on, energy beams cutting through cathedral, walls shattering, floors cracking. The child's power surged with every heartbeat, every act of defiance, every human spark of courage. Elias knew the fight had only just begun. Kalara's forces would not stop. The galaxy watched, and he understood one undeniable truth. Humans, though fragile, were capable of greatness unimaginable even to the oldest civilizations. And he would prove it, not just for himself, not just for the child, but for the legacy of a species willing to stand alone against the infinite. The Queen would come. Her wrath would descend. Worlds would tremble. But as long as he breathed, as long as the child lived, humanity's light would not dim. He tightened his grip on the child and advanced further into the sanctuary. Every step a declaration. "I am human. I endure. I protect. And I will not fail." Outside, the stars burn on. And somewhere in the endless darkness of space, a queen plotted, knowing that retrieving the child would demand the impossible, and that the human standing in her way might just be the universe's greatest surprise. Elias adjusted his stance, holding the child closer, feeling the faint glow of energy radiating from its skin. It was alive in a way that defied human understanding, vibrating, resonating, almost sentient in its own right. The Queen's forces surged through the corridors like a living storm, their shapes twisted, bodies flowing and reforming, limbs splitting and merging, adapting with every move Elias made. He ducked behind a shattered wall, breathing hard, and studied their movement patterns. Humans were slow, predictable, yet, he thought, they underestimated one crucial trait: intelligence born necessity. He reached into his belt and pulled a compact energy disruptor, a device designed for field improvisation. Jury-rigged from a dozen different human technologies scavenged from destroyed ships and outposts. Elias calculated angles, timing, and force vectors in a heartbeat. He fired. The disruptor released a pulse that distorted the Queen's minions, destabilizing their forms. They screeched, a sound both organic and mechanical, and for a brief moment, their coordination faltered. He lunged forward, moving faster than instinct should allow, human reflexes amplified by sheer willpower. Each strike, each evasive maneuver, displayed something the Queen's army had not accounted for. Humans could think in ways machines and instincts could not. The child's glow intensified, reacting to his courage, amplifying the disruptor's pulse. Energy cascaded outward, forcing the alien creatures back, creating a narrow path forward. Elias moved through it, sprinting, leaping, sliding, all while carrying being far lighter than its apparent power suggested. The air was thick with ionized energy, the smell of ozone and burnt metal burning his lungs. At the cathedral's core, a chamber opened, vast and impossibly tall, with walls that seemed to stretch into infinity. Ancient glyphs rotated slowly along the surfaces, emitting soft pulses that resonated with the child's energy. Elias stepped inside and felt a presence, a consciousness older than the stars themselves. "You carry the spark," it said. Its voice was deep, reverberating through bone and flesh alike. "Few have dared. Fewer have survived long enough to reach this place. The Queen knows and the galaxy trembles." "I protect it," Elias said, voice firm despite the exhaustion clawing at him. "Nothing else matters." The presence radiated warmth and approval, and the sanctuary itself shifted subtly, creating barriers that the Queen's forces could not easily breach. Outside, the obsidian crown had arrived, eclipsing the nebula like a shadow cast across the sun. Its weapons flared, striking the outer walls of the sanctuary with fury unimaginable. Elias could feel the shock waves reverberate through the floor. Dust and shards of crystalline material rained down around him. "They will not stop," the presence said. "But neither will you. You are human." Elias gritted his teeth and moved toward the child, placing it on a raised pedestal pulsing with energy. He realized instinctively that this place was not just a refuge for the conduit, an amplifier of the child's latent power, and the Queen would come for it. The first assault breached the outer barrier. Alien constructs surged into chamber, shapes fluid and alien, yet precise. Elias drew his rifle, relying not just on weapons, but on improvisation. He lured the first wave into energy conduits, overloading them. Sparks flew, and alien limbs twisted unnaturally as they were struck by redirected power. They adapted quickly, but humans did not rely solely on repetition. He used the sanctuary's environment, creating traps, manipulating energy flows, and turning every attack into a counterattack. His mind raced. Every calculation, every improvisation, every split-second decision underscored the essence of humanity, the ability to endure, adapt, and overcome. And the child, glowing brighter than ever, responded. Pulses of energy radiated outward, forming shields, striking foes, and amplifying Elias's actions. He realized then that protection was not passive. It was symbiotic. He fought. The child responded, and together they became a force neither the Queen nor her minions had expected. The air shimmered as Kalara herself manifested within the chamber, a colossal presence that dwarfed the alien constructs. Her eyes, infinite and luminous, locked onto Elias. "Human," she said, her voice shaking the very walls. "You defy fate itself. You will not leave with what belongs to me." "I do not negotiate with tyranny," Elias replied, steady despite the overwhelming presence. "I protect life. That is my choice." The Queen surged forward, a tidal wave of energy and power, intent on retrieving the child by force. Elias ran. He dodged, weaved, fired, and improvised. Every maneuver highlighted humanity's unique combination of courage, intellect, and unpredictability. The child's energy surged violently, reacting to the Queen's advance. Light cascaded, forming protective barriers and striking with precision. The Queen recoiled momentarily. Surprise, or perhaps respect, flickered across her expression. Elias realized something crucial. The Queen had underestimated humanity's greatest strength. Not sheer power, but the willingness to stand against impossible odds for what is right. The chamber itself began to respond, shifting corridors and floors, amplifying the synergy between human and child. The Queen's constructs faltered, destabilized by the environment they could not fully comprehend. "You are remarkable," Kalara said, almost admiringly, though her voice was still laced with fury. "Few beings resist me, and even fewer survive my reach. You defy expectation." Elias did not pause. Every second counted. He guided the child to the central pedestal, activating its latent connection with the sanctuary. Light erupted, forming a dome of energy that encased them. The Queen lashed out, her energy striking the dome, and for a moment it quivered. But human ingenuity had prepared for this. Elias recalibrated, channeling energy, redirecting flows, and using the child's power as a conduit. The Queen's attack rebounded partially, disrupting her constructs, sending them into chaos. Elias realized that this was no longer merely defense. This was a turning point. Humans could not only survive against the impossible, they could fight back, innovate, and hold their own against forces older than stars. Kalara's gaze hardened. "You will pay for this defiance," she said, her voice echoing across the void. "And I will find a way to claim what is mine. I will be ready," Elias said, "always." Outside the chamber, the first signs of interstellar attention flickered across distant star systems. Sensors picked up signals, fleets from other civilizations monitoring the escalating conflict. The galaxy began to take notice of humanity, not as prey, not as subjects, but as a species capable of standing against the infinite. Elias did not falter. He held the child close, feeling the pulse of its life and power. Together, they had created a bulwark against one of the universe's oldest and most dangerous forces. The battle was far from over. Kalara would strike again, with greater fury, with new strategies, with forces beyond imagination. But Elias understood a fundamental truth. The universe underestimated humans at its own peril. They endured, they adapted, and they protected what mattered. And as long as Elias breathed, as long as the child lived, humanity's light would burn fiercely in the darkness, a beacon of courage, ingenuity, and indomitable spirit. He tightened his grip on the child and whispered, almost to himself, almost as a vow to the universe, "We fight together. We endure together. And we will survive." Outside the sanctuary, stars shifted, fleets maneuvered, and the Queen's rage burned hotter than any star. The galaxy held its breath. The sanctuary trembled beneath the Queen's fury, yet the core remained stable, glowing with the child's iridescent light. Elias knelt beside the pedestal, running his fingers over its intricate alien symbols. Each glyph pulsed in rhythm with the child's heartbeat, forming patterns that seemed to speak directly to him. The child's golden eyes opened, wide with curiosity, and a soft hum resonated from its body. Elias felt it, not as sound, but as understanding. The child was reaching out, offering knowledge. He inhaled sharply. "You want me to understand, don't you?" A surge of images flashed before his mind. Star systems unknown to human science, civilizations rising and falling, a hidden war older than recorded history. He gasped. The child was more than powerful. It was a repository, a living archive of life across galaxies. Its survival could tip the balance of civilizations. Elias's fingers tightened around the railing of the pedestal. Protecting it was no longer a choice. It was a responsibility that could decide the fate of countless worlds. Outside, the sanctuary shook as the Queen's forces regrouped. Massive alien dreadnoughts surrounded the nebula like predators encircling prey. Energy beams sliced through clouds of luminous gas, searching for weaknesses in the sanctuary's defenses. Elias had no illusions. Kalara would escalate her assault. She would bring everything to bear. But humans had a gift the Queen could not calculate: creativity under pressure. He moved through the sanctuary's corridors with purpose, scanning energy flows, analyzing structural patterns, and improvising new defenses. The child hummed a low, vibrating resonance that synced with the sanctuary. Elias realized he could guide it, direct it, amplify its latent energy using his own instincts. He whispered commands, not as words, but as intention, feeling the child respond, shaping energy barriers, deflecting attacks, and creating corridors for escape or counterstrike. The Queen's forces breached the outer perimeter. Swirling, amorphous creatures surged through the walls, their forms constantly shifting to adapt to obstacles. Elias ducked behind a crystalline spire, analyzing their movement. He grabbed a small device from his belt, a kinetic converter, human technology fused with alien elements scavenged from prior encounters. He threw it into the corridor. It pulsed and expanded, emitting waves that destabilized the alien forms. Limbs twisted, shapes collapsed, and for a moment, chaos erupted among the invaders. He lunged forward, firing with precision, exploiting every disruption. The Queen's minions adapted quickly, but Elias adapted faster. He realized humans were unpredictable in ways even advanced alien intelligence could not fully anticipate. Strategy and improvisation, instinct and emotion, created solutions beyond algorithmic thought. In the chaos, he heard a voice, sharp, metallic, almost musical. Protector. He turned. A new figure materialized, unlike any alien he had encountered. Its form was fluid, translucent, and yet fully sentient. Eyes glimmered like distant suns. "You understand a child," it said. Few species could. Fewer still would risk themselves. Kalara's obsession blinds her. She cannot see the balance shifting. Elias steadied himself. "I do not seek to defy her. I only protect." "Protection is rebellion in the wrong hands," the figure said. "You are the catalyst. You are the spark the universe has waited for." He frowned. The weight of responsibility pressed against his chest. Yet a surge of resolve followed. Humans had always risen when the odds were impossible. Outside, Kalara herself descended from the obsidian crown, her form colossal and radiant. She brought the void itself with her, a tide of power and rage. "You defy destiny," she boomed. "Return the child or witness annihilation." "I do not negotiate," Elias said. "I endure. I protect. That is human strength." The Queen struck, and the sanctuary shuddered under her energy waves. Corridors buckled. Floors cracked. Sparks rained like shooting stars in slow motion. Elias maneuvered with a combination of human instinct and calculated ingenuity. He led Kalara's minions into a corridor network lined with energy amplifiers. With a swift calculation, he rerouted the sanctuary's power through the child, creating a pulse of energy that destabilized the Queen's constructs, sending them into chaotic fragmentation. The Queen recoiled, her eyes narrowing. "Remarkable," she said, voice simmering with restrained fury. "You wield potential I did not anticipate. But this does not end here." Elias steadied himself, breathing heavily. "It ends when the child survives. That is all that matters." The child's glow pulsed, expanding, connecting with the sanctuary itself. Walls and floors shifted, forming a labyrinthine defense that no assault could fully penetrate. Elias realized that the child's power was not just defense, it was transformation. It could reshape reality around it, guided by intent, amplified by courage. The Queen's rage intensified, her attacks becoming more precise, more violent. Yet Elias anticipated each move, improvising, exploiting weaknesses, turning every strike into an advantage. Humanity's ingenuity shone brightest under pressure. He rigged energy conduits as traps, created feedback loops with alien technology, and synchronized with the child to become a single, unstoppable force. Kalara paused, her gaze locked on Elias. "You are human," she said, almost admiringly. "Fragile, yet defiant. Clever beyond expectation. But defiance alone cannot protect the child forever." Elias stepped forward, energy flowing from the child through the sanctuary, forming a radiant shield. "I do not rely on defiance alone. I rely on strength, ingenuity, and the will to endure. That is humanity." The Queen unleashed a wave of energy that shook the sanctuary to its core. Dust and shards of crystal rained down. Elias braced, but the shield held. He felt the child's pulse, steady and strong, feeding his own determination. "We endure," he whispered. "We adapt. We survive. And in that moment, the queen realized the magnitude of her miscalculation. Humans were not prey. Humans were not insignificant. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and unyielding. The child's energy flared, resonating with the sanctuary, creating barriers and counterattacks that even Kalara struggled to counter. Elias understood the truth that had guided humanity for millennia. Courage multiplied by intelligence could defy any force, even the oldest power in the galaxy. He tightened his grip on the child. Together, they formed a bulwark of hope and defiance against a universe that had long underestimated the human spirit. The Queen's fury blazed. Fleets clashed outside, and the galaxy began to watch. Elias did not flinch. He did not hesitate. Every action, every breath, every heartbeat declared one undeniable truth. Humans could rise, stand, and protect against the impossible. And as long as he held the child, humanity's light would shine in the darkness of the cosmos, a beacon of courage, ingenuity, and relentless determination. The battle was far from over, and the Queen would strike again, harder, smarter, more merciless. But Elias knew one thing with certainty. Humanity would endure. They would survive. They would protect what mattered. And they would prove once and for all that even against the impossible, humans could stand as equals among the stars. He looked at the child, golden eyes glowing softly in the radiant sanctuary. "We fight together," he whispered. "We endure together. And nothing in the galaxy will take you from me." Outside, the void trembled, fleets maneuvered, and the Queen's rage roared across the nebula. The sanctuary thrummed like a living entity, walls pulsing in rhythm with the child's energy. Elias stood at its center, his hands brushing across the glowing pedestal, feeling power ripple through his veins. Outside, the obsidian crown loomed, immense and malevolent, its hull writhing with Kalara's energy. Smaller assault craft danced around it, probing, testing, striking, only to be repelled by shields woven from the child's power. Elias's mind raced. Kalara's obsession with the child was not mere desire. It was necessity. Something in its energy threatened to overturn her dominion, destabilize her empire, rewrite the rules of galactic power. And humans, she realized, could disrupt her designs. He glanced at the child, golden eyes locking with his. In that instant, understanding passed between them, a silent pact. He would protect it, not because of obligation, but because life itself demanded courage in the face of impossibility. A sudden tremor shook the sanctuary. Elias stumbled but regained his balance. The Queen's presence pressed upon them, her energy a tide threatening to crush everything in its path. "You think this sanctuary will hold?" Kalara's voice echoed, omnipresent. "You think your species can withstand the inevitable?" Elias tightened his grip on a makeshift staff, a conduit he had improvised from alien crystals and human technology. Sparks ran along its length as he activated it. "Humanity has always endured," he said. "We adapt, we survive, and we protect what matters." The first wave of Kalara's constructs breached the outer energy barriers. Their forms twisted, merging into new shapes with every attack, each iteration faster, stronger, more unpredictable. Elias assessed them, heart-pounding. Strategy and improvisation became instinct. He used the sanctuary's architecture as a weapon, redirecting energy conduits, collapsing corridors, creating traps. The child's resonance amplified every action, forming a protective lattice around them. Energy flared outward, disrupting the Queen's forces, forcing them into chaos. One construct lunged at Elias, enormous, its tendrils seeking to crush him. He leaped, swinging the staff, striking a power node in the floor. The conduit exploded, energy arc striking the construct, tearing it apart from the inside. Elias landed, lungs burning, pulse racing. Not enough. Kalara's voice hissed, equal parts rage and fascination. He did not answer. Words were irrelevant. Action was proof. Humanity's truth lay not in promises but in deeds. Through the chaos, a pattern emerged in the Queen's attacks. She had power, yes, but she relied on repetition, expectation, and intimidation. Elias could exploit those traits. He moved deliberately, guiding the child to a central chamber within the sanctuary. Symbols along the walls glowed more intensely as the child approached. The energy pulsed outward, forming barriers, traps, and channels that the Queen's forces could not fully navigate. A sudden alarm flashed. A breach in the rear of the sanctuary. Another wave of constructs approached. Faster, smarter, deadlier. Elias gritted his teeth. Humans did not rely solely on firepower. They used intelligence, improvisation, and courage. He threw energy grenades fashioned from conduit shards, creating shockwaves that destabilized the invaders. He rigged a kinetic field using the sanctuary's energy nodes, forming a temporary cage around the Queen's minions. And then he ran, guiding the child to the labyrinth, anticipating every movement. The Queen manifested herself in the chamber, colossal and radiant. Her eyes glowed with infinite light, her aura a storm of destructive potential. "You defy me still," she said, voice echoing through the void. "You will not last." "I do not fight for myself," Elias said, moving steadily. "I fight for what cannot defend itself. That is strength." The Queen struck, energy waves tearing through the chamber. Floors buckled, walls cracked, and debris fell like a meteor shower. Elias twisted, ducked, and rolled, guiding the child to the heart of the sanctuary. The central pedestal pulsed, responding to their presence. Energy arcs shot outward, forming protective barriers, striking with precision at the Queen's constructs. He realized then that the child's power was not passive. It could be directed, amplified, and synchronized. Humanity's creativity, combined with the child's energy, formed a force the Queen had not anticipated. "You are remarkable," Kalara said, her voice tinged with both admiration and fury. "But even brilliance cannot stop destiny." "Destiny is not given," Elias replied. "Destiny is forged. By courage, by intelligence, by choice." The Queen unleashed another wave, a torrent of pure energy. Elias braced, but the child's resonance amplified the sanctuary's defenses, forming a radiant dome that absorbed the attack. The chamber shook violently, yet the energy dome held. Elias and the child stood at its center, a beacon of defiance. Outside, distant fleets watched. Alien civilizations, long spectators of galactic politics, began to whisper. Humans had stood against the infinite and not merely survived. They had forced the Queen into caution. Elias realized the galaxy had shifted. The presence of a single human, one determined to protect life against impossible odds, had sparked a chain reaction. Alliances, attention, and curiosity would now converge on humanity. The Queen's gaze hardened. "This is not over," she said. "I will return. I will take what is mine." Elias did not flinch. He held the child, pulse steady, every movement precise. "We will be ready." And in that moment, a truth crystallized within him. Humans, though fragile, were formidable. Courage, intelligence, and the unyielding would protect life made them unpredictable, unrelenting, and unstoppable. The Queen withdrew, leaving the battlefield temporarily. Her fleets hovered in retreat, recalculating, planning, waiting for an opportunity to strike again. Elias exhaled, feeling the weight of the moment. He had survived, not just as a human, but as a protector, a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. The child's eyes glowed softly, a heartbeat of light and life. Elias understood then that their journey had only begun. This was not merely a battle of survival. It was a forging of a legend, a human standing against an ancient power, protecting innocence, and proving that courage and intelligence could challenge the very fabric of the universe. He looked out across the sanctuary's radiant expanse, stars glittering beyond the nebula. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of threats, yet for the first time, Elias felt a spark of hope. Humanity could rise, even in the face of the infinite, and together, he and the child would light a path no force, not even a queen, could extinguish. Elias whispered, a vow echoing in the sanctuary's energy. "We endure, we protect, we rise, and no one, not even Kalara, will take you from me." Outside, the void remained alive with potential, danger, and destiny. The Queen would return. The galaxy would shift. Battles would rage. But humans had proven one undeniable truth. They were capable of greatness unimaginable even to the oldest powers. Elias stood at the heart of the cathedral, the child cradled against his chest. The sanctuary hummed in resonance, its energy flowing through him like veins of light, linking human determination to an alien force beyond comprehension. The obsidian crown lingered at the edge of the nebula, colossal and menacing, its hull pulsed with Kalara's rage, every ship around it ready to strike, every weapon primed to annihilate. Elias tightened his grip on the child, feeling the warmth of life and the power of potential intertwined. "Are you ready?" he whispered. The child's golden eyes met his, unblinking, as if it understood every unspoken thought, every instinct of survival, every thread of strategy. A tremor shook the sanctuary. Outside, the Queen's forces surged forward, energy slicing through the nebula's iridescent clouds. Elias adjusted his stance. Every battle, every skirmish, every narrow escape had led to this moment. He was not a lone human standing against the infinite anymore. He was a symbol of what humanity represented. Courage, intellect, ingenuity, and the unyielding would protect what could not protect itself. Kalara's voice reverberated through the chamber, a symphony of fury and authority. "You will yield the child," she demanded, every syllable a hammer striking the soul. "You cannot defy me. Your species is insignificant. Your resistance is meaningless." Elias's gaze hardened. Insignificant? Perhaps, but humans endure. We rise when impossible odds threaten life. We fight when the universe expects surrender. That is our strength. That is our purpose. And I will not fail. A shock wave pulsed through the sanctuary, the first strike of what Kalara intended to be the end. Corridors buckled, crystalline spires cracked, and fragments of the walls floated like slow-motion meteors. Elias adjusted, redirecting the sanctuary's energy through the child. Light exploded outward, forming barriers that shimmered like liquid gold, repelling the Queen's assault. The child's resonance surged. Elias felt it not as sound, but as understanding, a pulse of raw energy that could shape reality, amplify intent, and bend even Kalara's power to respond to will. He realized the truth in an instant. This was no longer defense. It was creation. The Queen struck again, more precise, more furious. Energy cascaded like a river of fire, reshaping the very chamber, attempting to crush them in a single devastating blow. Elias leapt, ducked, and ran with the child, guiding them through corridors that shifted and pulsed with the sanctuary's sentience. Every step became a declaration of human ingenuity. Traps set, energy flows redirected, alien physiology exploited. Kalara's minions surged after them, yet every attack met resistance. Every strike was countered, not by brute force alone, but by strategy, creativity, and adaptability. Remarkable, the Queen's voice hissed, tinged with awe. "You defy expectation, human, but this defiance will end." Elias ran toward the central chamber, where the child's energy pulsed strongest. He placed it on the pedestal, and light exploded outward, illuminating the entire sanctuary. Energy spiraled like a living storm, forming barriers, striking enemies, and stabilizing collapsing structure. The Queen recoiled, her energy splintered by the child's resonance amplified through human ingenuity. "You wield power not meant for your kind," she spat, fury contorting her radiant form. "But I will claim it. I will claim the child. I will claim you." Elias stepped forward, standing tall despite the chaos. Sweat and dust streaked his face. Blood coated his hands. Yet he did not falter. "We endure," he said, voice steady. "We adapt. We survive. That is humanity. That is why the universe has always underestimated us. And that is why you will fail." The Queen unleashed a final strike, a torrent of energy so immense that it tore through space around the sanctuary. Stars flickered under its pressure. The very fabric of the nebula bent, threatening to swallow all in a vortex of destruction. Elias closed his eyes, focusing. He felt the child's energy intertwine with his will, resonating, amplifying, forming a force neither he nor Kalara fully comprehended. He guided it, shaping it, directing it. And then, with a clarity born of desperation, courage, and human ingenuity, he released it. The light erupted, a beacon of pure energy, cascading outward in every direction. It struck Kalara's fleet, destabilizing her ships, disrupting her constructs, and severing her connection to the child's power. Kalara screamed, a sound that shook the sanctuary and echoed across the nebula. Impossible. This cannot be. Elias opened his eyes. The queen's form faltered, her energy fragmented, her assault halted. The sanctuary, though battered, stood resilient, amplified by the union of human courage and the child's latent power. He took a deep breath, letting the pulse of the sanctuary and the child flow through him. For the first time, he understood the extent of what humanity could achieve. Not through brute strength, not through numbers, but through intelligence, creativity, adaptability, and unwavering resolve. Kalara's projection began to fade, but her eyes remained locked on him, filled with both rage and grudging respect. "You have survived," she whispered. "This is not over. I will return." "Then we will be ready," Elias replied. "Humans endure. That is our gift, and we will never stop protecting what matters." Outside the sanctuary, the nebula shimmered like a field of liquid light, now calm. Kalara's fleet retreated, destabilized, and the galaxy began to notice the humans who could stand against one of its oldest and most powerful forces. Other civilizations, long hidden or hesitant, sent tentative signals, curious, cautious, seeking alliances, seeking insight. Elias understood. Humanity had proven itself not as prey, but as a player in the galactic balance. The child stirred, golden eyes meeting his. Elias knelt beside it. "You are safe," he said. "No one will take you. Not while I stand." It reached a small hand to his face. A pulse of warmth surged through him. A silent promise, a bond that transcended species, that resonated across the galaxy. Days passed, and the sanctuary stabilized. Elias and the child explored its corridors, uncovering ancient archives, alien knowledge, and artifacts of civilizations long extinct. Each discovery revealed the child's purpose, not merely as a life to protect, but as a keystone for the balance of galactic power. Elias realized humanity had been given a choice: to remain observers or to rise, to protect, and to shape the cosmos through courage and intelligence. He did not hesitate. Humans had never hesitated in the face of impossible odds. The queen did not return immediately, yet her presence lingered, a shadow across the stars, a reminder that power underestimated humanity at its peril. Elias trained with the child, learning to synchronize with its abilities, guiding its energy, discovering applications that could stabilize planets, defend civilizations, and reshape battlefields. Each exercise, each demonstration, reinforced a truth older than humanity itself. Adaptability, courage, and intellect were more powerful than sheer force. And humans had all three in abundance. The first emissaries from other civilizations arrived cautiously, observing, testing, offering cautious alliances. Elias represented humanity, but more than that, he represented a species that refused to bow, that refused to surrender, that refused to compromise the lives of the innocent. Through negotiation, demonstration, and acts of undeniable courage, he proved humans were not just survivors. They were leaders, innovators, and protectors. News of humanity's defiance against Kalara spread like wildfire. Across systems, stories circulated of the lone human who had stood against the queen and lived. Some whispered of luck, others of divine intervention. But Elias knew the truth. It was humanity itself, its courage, intelligence, ingenuity, and willpower that had carried him through the impossible. Weeks later, the nebula settled into a serene glow. The sanctuary, though scarred, shone like a beacon of hope. The child slept peacefully, its glow gentle now, its energy resonating in harmony with the sanctuary and Elias's steady presence. He walked among the alien archives, studying star maps and histories, understanding civilizations that had risen and fallen long before humans had reached the stars. And yet, in every corner, in every document, one truth became undeniable. Humans, though late to the galactic stage, were now central to its future. Elias knelt beside the pedestal, placing a hand on the child. "We will face challenges," he said softly. "We will meet enemies greater than Kalara. But humanity endures, and together we will protect life." A pulse of warmth returned from the child, a silent promise that echoed across the sanctuary. The stars beyond shimmered, galaxies turning in their eternal dance. Humans, small yet fierce, had claimed a place among the infinite. Elias looked to the horizon of space, to the nebula, to the distant stars. Kalar might return, fleets might come, challenges would rise, but humanity had proven itself. Courage and ingenuity, tempered with compassion, could defy the oldest powers, and humanity would rise again and again, standing guard over the innocent, shaping the galaxy with strength of mind, heart, and will. The child stirred, golden eyes meeting his once more. Elias smiled, hope and determination shining through every scar, every bruise, every battle won. "Let them come," he whispered. "We are ready. We endure. We protect. And the galaxy will remember humanity." Outside, the nebula pulsed softly, the stars beyond watching, the universe itself acknowledging a simple truth. Humans could rise. Humans could survive. Humans could change the cosmos. And in the center of it all, a lone human stood, protector of life, beacon of hope, and proof that courage, intelligence, and the will to endure were forces older and more formidable than any queen or empire. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. Elias tightened his grip on the child, the warmth of life against his chest, the pulse of energy resonating through him. They were safe, for now, and humanity's light would shine across the stars, eternal, unwavering, indomitable.